I didn't understand the kind of business I had started. I had started with $0 and zero customers. Fundamentally, I think all business owners need to understand that no one is coming to save you. You just have to not quit.
I'm like, Sunny, just take one more step. Don't worry about another, like how many feet up you have to go, how many miles more. Just focus on next step. Hi, Nick. Welcome to the show.
Sunny, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you joining me today. Thank you so much. And I know you have so much experience, so much wisdom that you have acquired over years as an entrepreneur. And I'm excited about sharing that wisdom, that experience with the channel. So thank you so much once again for coming to my show. And I would like to start with a quick intro, Nick. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And Sunny, thanks for doing this. I think folks like you that invest their time to create connectivity in the channel are a big part of why we have such a thriving community. So thanks for doing that. I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I started my first business in 2002. I didn't know it, but it was an MSP. I was pleased to later find out what it was. I don't know if you remember in the 90s, those gateway computers that looked like cows, the boxes that were shaped like cows. My whole business plan was I was going to help people set those up in their house in like 1999. Through a series of very fortunate events, I started an MSP called Path Forward IT. In 2013, after running my MSP successfully for about 10 years, I started another business. It was a medical call center business. So Path Forward's focused entirely on healthcare. So I had the privilege of serving specialty healthcare with a call center business that grew to a 500-person call center. And then I started a software company in 2017, still focused on healthcare. And then in 2021, after being in the channel at that point for almost 20 years and watching a lot of my peers grow through partnerships and acquisition, I founded my own platform called Blue Alliance. And so today, my primary responsibility is to be the CEO of Blue Alliance. We're a platform of managed service providers that serve customers all over the country.
That is so amazing. You see, one thing that I love about being an entrepreneur is that when you talk to other entrepreneur and where they're coming from, because majority of the entrepreneurs are unique individuals, and because one way I talk about this is that we all wake up unemployed and we have to create our own employment, and that's different than the majority of the world. Um, but the journey has the potential. Every single entrepreneur should be writing a book. So you learn from that entrepreneur's journey because it's so amazing, it's so unique, and everyone takes kind of their own path to that success. So, can you talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to go from a small business as a MSP to now you're looking at a platform company? You are a platform company. So, talk to us a little bit about that jump.
Yeah, Sonny, it's a great topic. I think in our culture we have a huge issue with we only talk about the successes in business, right? Shows like Shark Tank, we glorify entrepreneurs and we have this success bias. What we don't talk enough about is the work it takes to get there, and so like I call that part like the messy middle. We always like to celebrate the end, but nobody wants to talk about the part where nothing's working, you're questioning all of your life choices, it's putting strain on your family. Like those were the hard things. So I would say for me, it wasn't so much like an inspiration that drove me to keep growing. You just have to not quit. I mean, a huge part of entrepreneurship is just showing up every day, being very willing to be wrong and die to old ideas and bad ideas. I think the faster an entrepreneur, and I think this is true of business leaders too, the faster we're willing to sort of die to ourselves in the sense that we are okay that the decision we made might not be the right one for the business and we need to iterate quickly. I would say that's how the business grew. Was I didn't understand the kind of business I had started. I had started with $0 and zero customers, but I was willing to learn and listen from the customer. The other thing I would say, Sonny, trying to share sort of insights from that entrepreneurial journey It took me a couple years to realize this, but fundamentally, I think all business owners need to understand that no one is coming to save you. Like you are on your own. There are lots of people that you can network with, you can get insights. There are great partners out there, but none of them are going to deliver the business to that next level. It's ultimately up to you. And I think that's important because sometimes we have this sort of false sense of just if we network enough or if we find enough partners that that's going to propel our business forward. But that fundamental responsibility of setting the vision and growing the business does fall on the entrepreneur. And so I think that's a learning that when you realize it, it feels a little unsettling maybe that, it's like, oh man, this really is something I've got to put the work in. But if you do it, right, then it starts to become like a flywheel effect where you start to have more and more success. So
Yeah.
those are a couple of the key things, Sonny. The final thing I'd say on that topic of how do you move from what you described as the SBA small business and you get past that failure rate. I think the last piece I would say is that there has to be a lot of commitment to the journey. I
Mm,
meet a lot of entrepreneurs like Sonny. If you and I were going on a long hike, I saw on social media you like to hike.
yeah.
If you and I were going on a long hike and I decided to bring nothing with me, no water, no supplies, you'd probably tell me this is not a great plan, right? Well, you have to pack for the entrepreneurial journey too. Like you
Yeah.
have to be willing to put in the time. You have to have the conversations with your family about how are you going to manage seasons of disharmony where the business is asking too much of you. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs go into it thinking it's going to be like a job. It's not. It is a constant responsibility, and you can reach harmony with it, but it doesn't always bring you harmony. You have to push for that.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. Well said, Nick. So I was, yeah, I mean, when you were referring to my hike, I was able to relate to that. So me and my son, we were in Denver last week, Spruce Creek, 12,000 feet up.
Very cool.
And so it was like in the middle of the hike because I have been doing here prepping for Everest Base Camp from 3 months, and here I can do it. 8 hours hike here in New Jersey, no problem. There, it was oxygen effect. It
Yeah.
was different environment, different climate, and when I was in the middle, it felt like I wanted to give up. My son is a firefighter, so he's very strong, and I'm like
Yeah.
following him, and he's like, "Daddy, come, it's okay." And I felt like going back. I'm like, man, I will do it tomorrow. I will do it next time. But then I'm like, Sonny, just take one step, one more step. Just keep focusing on one more step. Don't worry about another, like how many feet up you have to go, how many miles more. Just focus on next step. And what you just said, keep going, keep going, keep growing. That is what entrepreneurs do, successful entrepreneurs. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of, okay, just one more day. Stay present,
Yeah.
stay productive,
Absolutely.
and stay positive.
I thought you were going to tell me your firefighter son carried you up the hill. I'm glad to hear you just kept taking that next step.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. I'm taking him intentionally because he has been trained for rescuing and everything else, and he's a pro.
You seem like a fit guy. It's interesting. You use the metaphor of that hike, right? So the altitude and the reduced oxygen.
Yeah,
That's actually a metaphor for entrepreneurship. You
yeah,
reach seasons in your journey where that metaphor of low oxygen
yeah,
is no different than low resources. You might be out of ideas, you might be out of cash, you might be out of talent. Like I can't tell you how many times that equivalent of being out of whatever the resource I need was. And I think to your point, like the entrepreneurs that get there are they're almost too dumb to quit. They just keep going. I certainly was too dumb to quit. And in the same way you took that one step, that's what you have to do. It's like, what is the next most practical problem I need to solve? And just break it down piece by piece. And that gives you that opportunity to get back to base camp where you can breathe again.
yeah. So, what is that one greatest lesson you have learned from kind of small business to now being a platform company? What is that one piece?
The first answer is an entrepreneur. If you are doing the same thing you are doing at this point last year, I would argue you're fundamentally failing as an entrepreneur. I think that's a good measure of if you are driving the innovation and if you are driving the growth that the business needs. So many entrepreneurs are very, very talented people, and it's almost like gravity, right? Like there's things that stay close to them and they're still doing them year after year. And
Yeah.
I don't think they realize how much that inhibits their ability to grow. You can scale simplicity. You can't scale individual talent. Like you have to be willing to invest the gifts that you have that let you start that business. You have to invest those gifts in others, in systems, in training, and processes. And if you can be willing to do that, then the business can grow and you can set people up for success. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs that are stuck. And the sad reality is they're stuck because they're not willing to do something different than they were. They're not willing to step outside of their kind of their power alley of talent and let someone else start to do it. So I think the simple sort of gut check on that is I always try to once a year in my annual planning, I think about what were my core responsibilities last year? What was I doing well? And am I still doing those same things? Or have I trained and imparted those things in my team?
Yeah.
Because if I'm still doing them, then I'm becoming the problem. And so I think that's the answer kind of from a personal entrepreneur level. I think on the business side, the like I hear the word culture so used and abused. And I think that not that culture is a bad thing. Culture is a great thing, Sonny. I think my point in saying it's used and abused is that we're starting to lose connection with what culture really is.
Mm.
Culture is the sum of expectations, behaviors, and standards. Like it's not what you say. It's like what actually happens in the business when no one's looking. How do you navigate a difficult situation? How do you communicate problems? And I think that they forget that they set the standard. And so a lot of cultures that I've encountered where you've got a charismatic leader and you've got a good leader, they're not doing well. The culture's not thriving because that leader isn't actually doing the things that they say are important in the culture. So I guess that's the other piece as these businesses grow. If the leader isn't willing to do whatever he's asking of others, it's not going to be a culture that's growth oriented. I mean, that's what motivates people to grow is the accountability from the top leader.
Yeah, the culture. Yes, no, that is so well said. So do some kind of audit on a regular basis, the way you do it on an annual basis. So check your present activities in reference to your past. If you're doing the same thing today, then results won't change. There could be maybe incremental progress, incremental growth, but if you want to have exponential, you need to have your activities need to change, and it has connectivity tissue with what EOS will call it more like delegate, elevate. So I think that's really really important to understand as entrepreneurs, because sometimes we don't take time to think and review and audit that if our activities are producing the best outcomes, best results, or they're not. And if we don't, if you're not producing best result, always important to review and do something different or do things differently. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I want to take your perspective on industry, the channel. What are you seeing? What are you sensing? In reference to also markets, there is a lot happening in the market right now in terms of the policy making in Washington and its effect everywhere. So I want to, where I think is a new conversation. Not too many people are having it in the channel. Is that what's this connection with channel's future? So overall, what are you seeing? What are you sensing? Where things are going in the next year or so?
Yeah, it's an interesting time. I think, the topic that I think everybody is got on their mind right now is whether we like it or not. We're in a period of time where the evolution of the technology space around MSPs is happening so fast. I think the MSP world. So as a guy who was in the MSP world starting in the year 2000, started my business in 2002. I was kind of there for the early part of it, right? So I mean, a lot of MSPs, maybe started in the 90s, but really it was that early 2000s that the MSP business model boomed. Sonny, if we're honest with each other, change in our industry has been pretty glacial. Like we've definitely evolved, but the fundamental business model hasn't changed dramatically. And I think AI is really starting to do that. And we're going to go through a period of such rapid change I think everyone's trying to figure out how that plays into the business model. And so that's certainly on my mind, is to try to understand what do the MSPs of tomorrow offer businesses that are going to be able to adopt radically simpler solutions over time. In many ways, our businesses are supporting things that were invented 5 to 10 years ago. Like if I look at service ticket data, and I see what we're not supporting the tech of tomorrow. We're supporting the tech of yesterday in many cases. So that, I think that's on my mind. And I see a lot of the channel providers, software companies, everybody has their own approach to how, I'm using AI in the broad sense, but how AI is going to impact the MSP and the customer. So I think that's a big piece of it. Um, my take on it is, the MSP business model is going to have to change. I think that as customers, there's going to be an inherent conflict between how we do our work today and the types of tools that the customers are going to be adopting and how they impact our work. So I don't think conflict is bad. I've never seen anyone grow without a little bit of tension. So that tension is probably going to end up being really healthy. And I think the MSPs that are willing to evolve are going to end up serving customers in a whole new way. But we have to be ready to do it. Regarding the overall climate, we are starting to really hear from customers that had planned infrastructure investments. I think there's a lot of concern about how potential tariffs could impact availability and pricing of those investments. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody has really clear guidance yet. We're starting to hear from some of our partners in the channel from a hardware perspective what their take is, whether that's a manufacturer, an OEM manufacturer. But those periods of uncertainty, I don't think are good for us as a channel. I think customers want to make confident decisions, and so I'm hoping whether there is or isn't, I'm not taking a position. I just hope there's clarity soon so that
Yeah.
people can start to make decisions.
Yes, yeah, no, 100%, and we're seeing that effect already. So not too many partners come to our conference from other countries, but Canada, we got 5 cancellations in the last about 3 weeks, and I'm hearing similar sentiment from other conferences as well, where their attendees canceled last minute. There's one conference in April, and the meeting planners, they were talking to me, and they're like, we got a lot of cancellations for our Canadian attendees. And I think that's just one example.
Yeah,
But we got only 5, so you can see some indicators where things are going. We have one of our partner. They visited us yesterday from Canada,
interesting.
and they're like big MSP there, Nick. So their question was, if the tariff is there, Sunny, can you bill me from India or the Philippines company rather than from the US?
It's a fair question. I think a lot of your listeners might want to know the answer to that question, Sonny.
So I'm gonna keep it there right now. That
Yeah, yeah,
I'm still
I'm sure.
processing. Okay, I did not see it coming. It's like in the conference room. We're at the contract stage, and now this is one of the kind of only pending piece there. It's a big national level Canadian MSP. They are in all provinces there, and platform company, huge, big MSP. And their main thing is that if we're going to build them and it's the tariff is applied, my cost is going to go up. So what's the solution, Sunny?
Yeah, well, it definitely creates a lot of complexity, and I mean, look, there are smarter people than me that need to make those policy decisions. I think as a business owner operator, just like you, Sonny, it's like we just need to know what's going on so we
Yeah.
can make the best possible decisions, and I think that's what makes it challenging right now.
Yeah, that is, yeah. But I think overall, in the next maybe 30, 60, 90 days, we will get a lot more clarity in terms of, entrepreneurs. One thing that I see is that entrepreneurs always figure it out.
Right.
Entrepreneurs are the one. This country's core value is entrepreneurship, number one. So if there is one country on this earth that exists with entrepreneurial mindset, is this country.
I would
So,
agree.
so we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Now, the last question I have, Nick, for you is, now with the platform that you have, and I see that you are creating a lot of collaborations out there. with strategic partners and MSPs where they want to be part of this amazing journey. And your model is so unique. So, can you take a minute to explain how are you different? And if I'm MSP listening to you, how can I think some collaboration opportunity with Nick and where your future is bigger and my future is bigger?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sonny. I mean, so the first one is like, what is Blue Alliance? I mean, I have a unique journey in the sense that I started my MSP with, I didn't even know it was an MSP, as I said earlier, and grew the MSP. And I had a unique perspective on what was difficult and felt very isolating versus things that I felt like I could do really well on my own. And I don't operate that MSP today. It is part of the Blue Alliance family, but it's run by a leadership team that does a fantastic job. And so when I thought about starting my own platform, what I thought about is, what do healthy MSPs actually need help with? And it works well at scale. And where we landed was, in our platform, the MSPs continue to operate as independent brands, but we centralize all finance and accounting as one example. So we have one CFO at the blue level who's the CFO for all of our CEOs. And in the same way, none of us could really afford to have a full to finance team with FP&A functions, with all sorts of planning and analysis. Like, we just can't do that as individual MSPs. We can't. Another example is talent. Like, finding talent right now is an art combined with science, right? So having that talent team and human resources at the Blue Alliance level, we take that work away from our partner MSPs so they have more time to focus on great service delivery and focus on their customers. Another quick example, Sunny, is for example, like 24/7 SOC coverage. It's hard for individual businesses to do that, but in the Blue Alliance family, we're all in the same tent. We're all related to each other, and we can share some of those functions. So we're a platform. Like, there are others out there, and there's no bad guys in the MSP world, which is nice. Got a lot of different flavors of how to come together. I would say ours allows the brands to stay independent, but drives greater collaboration. And then you had asked about kind of connectivity. We're an Evolve partner, and I love going to Evolve. I would say the first thing is, I've probably talked to 8 or 9 entrepreneurs that want to start their own platform or want to acquire or merge. If I can be of service to those folks, I am happy to do it. There is so much business in our country. There is so much opportunity. I'm happy to share our playbooks around acquisitions. I'm happy to share our playbooks around how we do integrations and what we share. So if I can be a resource to any entrepreneurs out there that are on that journey, maybe at an earlier stage or at an inflection point, and I can offer some advice, I'd be happy to. And then as far as us as a platform, we're at a place right now where we're really starting to hit a scale where we're really thinking through who our partners are going to be. And so you talk to it. Some of the clients you've got, Sunny, they're further ahead of where we are in that journey, right? And it sounds like some of them are making decisions to partner with your business. That's the kind of stuff we're starting to get into. And so I would love connectivity with folks that feel like they have solutions that serve platform MSPs. We want to, just like your friend said, we want to scale simple, not complicated. And so we're at the point now where we need to start to make some decisions around, hey, what's our go forward tech or partner in certain areas so that we can scale efficiently and really start to deepen those relationships.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I understand from your business model is that if I'm MSP and I have my growth strategy, it could be any one of those, there are only 2, 3 ways you can grow. And I get a lot of autonomy. If I'm part of Blue Alliance, then I get an autonomy that I need to be regional and having that relevancy. But at the same time, if there are things, could be HR, could be finance, could be other capabilities that I don't have, best in class capabilities built within my company, then I can leverage those capabilities from you so that it's more of 1 and 1 becomes 11x
That's
rather
exactly
than
right.
2x.
Yep. And since the way we're structured, we're actually one organization with subsidiaries, there's some other benefits too. One of our partners is a big Palo Alto partner. And they had one of their sister companies that had a customer who wanted Palo Alto. Well, you can't quickly become a Palo Alto partner. So we're able to share resources between the teams. There's a lot of collaboration that happens within our brands that drives growth by allowing them to offer each other services. So everything you said is true, with the added benefit of truly being able to leverage your peers in the Blue Alliance family to drive growth, or even to step up to seasons of busyness for onboarding. We do a lot of intercompany collaboration, which again, go back to me as an entrepreneur. What does real help look like? Like, just being in a platform and having some great friends is great, but it would be better as if I could borrow some of their people, or if I could lean into them after hours, or vice versa. If my team could help them on a subject matter, maybe they're not as strong enough. So that's how we set it up, where real collaboration is ultimately what drives freedom that I think entrepreneurs are craving.
That is so awesome. And what's the best way for people to find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Nick Recker. That's an easy way. My email address is simple. It's nick.recker@bluealliance.com. So those are probably the two easiest ways to find me.
That's awesome. And if you can't find Nick there, then I'm going to extend my invitation, Nick, to you to come to Build It coaching corner. So we have a coaching corner during our annual conference, which is 100% educational. We don't allow any sales pitches, other pieces. It's more leadership development, entrepreneurial mindset development, to coaching corner, where we kind of be the connectors as go-givers, where our peers can connect with each other. So we create a special section. So you can check your calendar. It's August 4th, 5th, 6th. It's a shameless plug, but it's yeah. So if you are available, please come there. And the MSP friends, if you want to come meet Nick and other like-minded growth mindset MSPs, where we can learn from each other. Please come to Build It, and if Nick is there, you can meet him there. Thank you so much for coming to my show. I truly
Thank you. Thanks for the invites. I'd love to be there.
And what you're doing, great work that you're doing in the channel, and making a huge impact there. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sonny. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Sonny's Silver Linings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.